Welcome to this edition of Team Talk with Tanya. I'm your host, Tanya Winters Buford, one of the District Family Engagement Liaisons for the Department of Parent and Family Engagement for DeKalb County School District. I am here today with my guest, Mr. Terrence Martin. Terrence is a coordinator for the Division of School Redesign and Innovation. Welcome, Terrence.
Thank you.
So tell me, everybody has been talking about this mobile learning impact hub, but it is only a small portion of a larger project. Tell us a little bit about the project. There was a grant that was given, well, we received, applied for a grant. We designed this one hub. But what's next on the horizon for the learning hubs?
Thank you. We actually have a total of 6 learning hubs. This is just one of them, as you have just mentioned. But there are 5 others that we are currently working on as we speak. We're actually getting ready to launch another impact learning bus such as this one to really focus on post-secondary education pursuits. And affording our students some opportunities to prepare themselves for the next level. Beyond that, we are definitely looking at creating some opportunities in the community itself. We're looking at perhaps maybe a Clarkston Community Center, Ethiopia Learning Center, and then we also have what's called our DECA Literacy Hub, which is primarily a student-driven flexible learning environment where students are actually encouraging literacy and book clubs and things like that throughout the district. And in addition to that, again, just crossing over to our post-secondary pursuits, just creating opportunities for our students to take advantage of opportunities that's in front of them related to what may be beyond them after high school completion.
So what brings you to this work? I know you have a long resume, but what expertise do you bring to the work of designing these learning hubs for innovative learning and education?
Yes, I've been in education for quite some time, as you mentioned, and really I think the strength of my life work has been around school innovation, transformation, and ensuring the success of all students and creating opportunities for that success to actually happen. So this work around the project itself with the flexible learning hubs really aligns well with the work that I'm very passionate about. I'm always looking for opportunities to support students that are marginalized, those students that have some unexpected challenges that befalls them, and creating an opportunity for them to navigate their way through that. So this particular project really aligns with my body of work around transformational leadership, around school innovation, school redesign, and to be honest with you, school cannot look the same as it once did prior to the COVID pandemic. And so I'm just very, very happy to be part of this district. It's a large district. We have some tremendous opportunities to impact the lives of so many of our students here in DeKalb County.
What are some of I know I have been in partnership with, because we're a part of the same division, but not the same department. But with working with students, one of the things that really touched me was talking to the students and what we term as empathy interviews. What have been some of the impactful pieces that you've gotten from interfacing so intimately with the students, because they helped to design this bus and they're helping to design these hubs?
Yeah, and that's just one of the powerful dynamics of the project itself, is that every decision that we make is based on what our student voice is saying. And so many times in education, we don't take time out to recognize and to hear the voices of our student. And so the work around empathy interviews is just that. It gives us an opportunity to ask some probing questions to our students around what the school look like in 10 years based on the experiences that you have today. What are some things that we need to be mindful of as we look to redesign and create innovative opportunities for students in the future? And so in listening to the students and the things that they have communicated to us, the opportunity to be more flexible, because some of the students that we talk to have children. They come from family dwellings where there are some other different types of challenges. And so the traditional pathway of coming to school every day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, 8 to 3:30, just doesn't cut it for all of our students. So there are some students out there that really can benefit based on having a flexible learning situation. Not taken away from the importance of receiving a quality education, but at the same time being flexible in our approach to making sure that we can deliver high impact instruction in a very flexible way to ensure academic success for students. So again, just listening to the voice of students in the empathy interviews, every time we do that, I walk away thinking that we're on the right path.
Yes.
And students are telling us this is what has worked for me. The idea of being part of a flexible educational structure has been beneficial in me staying on course toward high school completion.
One of the things when we were talking about doing this project, Terrence said, we keep saying that it takes a village, but the one voice that is being left out of the village is the student voice. And that resonated with me as a parent, as a former classroom teacher, as an educator doing this work, because students are able to articulate how they feel, what they feel. We, continue to develop models of inclusion where they're taught to be mindful, present, and aware of how they feel and how to better express themselves. So it's only right that we would bring them to the table, right? Everyone should have a seat at this table, and students most certainly should have a seat at the table, that we are now inviting them to build a new table, a new landscape of learning where it really is inclusive of all students. Because as you said, in our district is unlike many other large districts in Metro Atlanta. We have a very large refugee and immigrant population. That means that students have been in refugee camps. They have been in other places where they were not able to complete their schooling by a certain age. And so we're able to afford them several opportunities in DeKalb where they can get an education, still work their job, still be a parent. And so it's been a really exciting journey. We started this a little bit over a year ago, and just welcoming you to the team has been insightful. Listening to you talk about when you were a principal and when you did principal leadership, coaching and training principals, for me, lets us know we're on the right track, because one of the reasons for this particular program, this show, is to show how we foster collaboration, right? How we break down silos and how we reach across the aisles and departments in order to do what is best for students and best for their families, because they're our number one client and they're our main concern. Tell me if you could say one thing that has been game-changing in this experience thus far and that you see being a game changer. Tell our audience, what would that particular thing be if you could look them in the eye and say, this is why this will work, is working, and why this is the way of the future?
I think the key word that I want to really draw on is the word flexibility. When we look at what has happened in education over the last 2 or 3 years, prior to COVID, going through COVID, and then coming out of COVID, if nothing else, it has really caused educators, leaders across the country to look at education through a different lens. Just this past year, just doing a lot of research around state assessment scores, not just looking at the outcomes and how students perform, but also there in many states there was an initiative to look at, well, what was the educational platform for these particular students that set for the exam last spring? Was it hybrid? Was it virtual? Was it in person? And we know across the country there was a lot of different things happening. But I think just looking at data and looking at how our students are performing, I think it's also important to look at how they received services. What did their educational journey look like? this past year. So if I had to really put my finger on one thing that I would want to really echo and submit to those who are listening is let's not minimize the idea of being flexible. Our students are screaming out for that. And I think we have to look at our practices. We have to look at our processes, the things that we have in place through a traditional lens. Are there creative opportunities for us to be innovative and flexible to actually really meet the needs of all children? So that's what I would say, that being more flexible in the things that we do in education and not just getting stuck in a traditional path of how we deliver teaching and learning.
It has certainly been an honor to have you on to just bring a light or more light to what we're doing. We're grateful to have the type of leadership in DeKalb that is promoting, supporting, and fostering an environment where we are listening to our children, right? And we are learning along with them. How do we move through a pandemic, and how do we change education for the future? So thank you again for joining me.
Thank you.
I love being a partner of yours in this work as we continue to break down barriers and be game changers in this thing we call education for the 21st century.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for joining us on this edition of Team Talk with Tanya. We look forward to coming to a community near you with not just one, you heard it here, but now 2 mobile learning hubs. This is the wave of the future. We are one DeKalb with one voice, one purpose, and one mission, and that is to educate and elevate our students. Thank you for joining us.